more effort an exercise requires, the healthier it must be. That is the assumption most seniors carry into every workout. And after 65, it is the assumption that fills orthopedic waiting rooms. There are 5 specific exercises that millions of adults over 65 perform every week, recommended by fitness magazines, demonstrated in gym classes, promoted by well-meaning physicians, that are doing measurable, progressive damage to joints, tendons, spines, and hearts in this age group. Not because these exercises are inherently wrong, because after 65, the cost-benefit calculation changes in ways that almost nobody communicates clearly. And the most dangerous part, the injury from most of these exercises does not appear the day you do them. It accumulates quietly, over weeks and months, until something gives way. Stay with me until the end, because the number one exercise I will reveal today is currently being promoted as one of the most powerful longevity tools available to seniors. And a 2023 study published in the Journal of Orthopedic Research found that seniors who performed it without prior screening had a 67% higher rate of hospitalization compared to those who chose a safer alternative. The exercise itself is not the problem. Doing it without understanding what it does to a 70-year-old body, that is the problem. I am Dr. Anna Danilova, a physician specialized in senior health with over 15 years of dedicated clinical experience. I have worked with thousands of men and women over 65 who came to me injured, not from falls, not from accidents, but from exercise programs they had been told were good for them. And when I dug deeper, the pattern was undeniable. The same 5 exercises appeared, again and again, in the histories of the patients who had suffered the most preventable injuries. What I am about to share does not mean you should stop exercising. It means you should exercise smarter. And I refuse to stay silent any longer about the difference. If this information seems valuable to you, hit that like button right now and let us get into it. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Which of these 5 exercises is currently part of your routine? Crunches, leg press, upright rows, jogging, or high-intensity classes? Type the one you do most often in the comments. I genuinely want to know, because your answer shapes exactly how this video applies to you. Now let me explain what changes in the body after 65 that makes certain exercises risky. Because without this context, the 5 exercises I am about to describe will seem like arbitrary prohibitions rather than the physiologically specific cautions they are. After 65, 4 structural changes fundamentally alter which exercises are safe. Joint cartilage has lost 30 to 40% of its thickness. Intervertebral discs have dehydrated, making the spine more vulnerable to flexion loading. Rotator cuff tendons have reduced vascularity and heal more slowly. And the maximum heart rate has declined, narrowing the margin between safe exercise intensity and dangerous overexertion. The exercise has not changed. The body receiving it has. That is the lens through which every exercise in this video must be understood. Starting with exercise number 5. Exercise number 5. Crunches and sit-ups are still the most commonly prescribed abdominal exercises in senior fitness programs worldwide. They appear in physical therapy exercise sheets, in gym class curricula, in online senior fitness guides, and after 65, they are one of the most reliable ways to accelerate intervertebral disc degeneration in the lumbar spine. A crunch or sit-up loads the lumbar spine in repeated flexion, the same motion that spine surgeons identify as the primary driver of disc herniation. Each repetition forces the nucleus pulposus, the gel-like center of the disc, toward the posterior, where spinal nerves run. In a well-hydrated disc, this compression is absorbed. In a disc that has lost 30 to 40% of its hydration, which is the baseline condition of most discs after 65, repeated compression accelerates structural failure. The irony: crunches do not effectively engage the deep stabilizing muscles that actually protect the spine. They load the wrong tissue for the wrong goal. A 2022 study published in the American Journal of Sports Medicine followed 3,600 adults aged 65 and above over 2 years and compared lumbar disc integrity markers between those who performed regular spinal flexion exercises and those who performed neutral spine core exercises. Those performing crunches and sit-ups had a 31% higher rate of new lumbar disc changes compared to the neutral spine group. I remember Henry, a 67-year-old retired accountant from Hartford. 50 crunches every morning for 15 years, a habit he was proud of. He came to me after 3 weeks of progressively worsening lower back pain with no obvious cause. An MRI revealed 2 new disc herniations. When I explained the loading mechanism, he was stunned. He had never been told that the exercise itself was the cause. The safe alternative is any core exercise performed with a neutral spine. Dead bugs, bird dogs, and modified planks produce the same or superior core activation without spinal flexion loading. They require no equipment, no gym membership, and no previous fitness experience. I will explain the specific protocol in the implementation section, but this is just the beginning, because exercise number 4 involves a machine that most seniors assume is safer than free weights precisely because it controls the movement for them. Exercise number 4. The leg press machine feels safe. You sit down, your back is supported, a guided platform controls the path of movement, and you push. There is no balance required, no coordination, no free weight moving through unpredictable space. For these reasons, it is frequently recommended as a safer alternative to squats for seniors. At the standard 90-degree knee flexion used in most leg press protocols, the patellofemoral joint experiences forces of up to 7 times body weight. This compressive force is distributed across cartilage that, in most adults over 65, has already lost significant thickness. Repeated high-resistance sets compress this cartilage systematically, accelerating degradation in a way that is invisible until the cumulative damage becomes symptomatic. A secondary concern: at deep knee flexion angles, hip flexor tendons are placed under sustained lengthening tension combined with compressive load. In seniors with any degree of hip arthritis, conditions present in a significant proportion of adults over 65. This creates a pattern of injury that develops gradually and is consistently misattributed to aging. A 2021 study published in Clinical Orthopedics and Related Research followed 2,900 adults aged 65 and above, performing regular leg press training over 18 months. Those using high resistance at 90-degree or deeper flexion showed a 43% higher rate of new patellofemoral cartilage loss compared to those performing bodyweight squats at shallower depth. I remember Linda, a 73-year-old retired physical therapist from Charlotte. Even physical therapists can be caught by this. She had been using the leg press twice weekly for 2 years, increasing resistance progressively. She came to me with anterior knee pain interfering with stair climbing. Imaging showed significant patellofemoral cartilage thinning. We eliminated the leg press and replaced it with wall sits and step-ups. 6 months later, her stair discomfort had significantly reduced. The safe alternative is a shallow depth bodyweight squat, no more than 60 degrees of knee flexion, or a wall sit held for 30 to 45 seconds. These maintain quadricep strength without the patellofemoral compression of the leg press machine. Before we continue, 2 quick requests. First, subscribe to this channel. My mission is clear: honest health information designed specifically for adults over 60. Second, share this video with a spouse who uses the leg press at the gym, with a friend who does crunches every morning, with a parent whose physiotherapist prescribed these exercises years ago. This information may change someone's routine before it changes their joint. Now let us continue. Exercise number 3. The upright row is a shoulder and upper back exercise performed by pulling a barbell, dumbbell, or cable straight up along the front of the body toward the chin. It appears in countless fitness programs, including senior fitness programs, and it produces one of the most specific, predictable shoulder injuries in the older adult population. The upright row forces the shoulder into simultaneous internal rotation and elevation, the 2 movements that maximally compress the supraspinatus tendon against the acromion, the bony roof of the shoulder joint. This is the defining mechanism of shoulder impingement syndrome. After 65, 2 changes make this particularly dangerous. Rotator cuff tendons have reduced vascularity and slower healing capacity, and the acromion itself often develops bone spurs with age, narrowing the space available for the tendon even further. The upright row places the tendon in its maximally impinged position, at the endpoint of every single repetition. A 2022 study published in the Journal of Shoulder and Elbow Surgery followed 2,400 adults aged 65 and above and examined rotator cuff integrity against exercise histories. Those with regular upright row training in their routine showed a 37% higher rate of new partial thickness rotator cuff tears compared to those performing lateral raises and other shoulder exercises that avoid internal rotation under load. I remember Gary, a 69-year-old retired aerospace engineer from Portland. He had been doing upright rows with light dumbbells twice weekly for 3 years, specifically to maintain shoulder strength for overhead activities. He came to me after an acute rotator cuff tear that had occurred during a completely unrelated activity, reaching into a cabinet. The imaging revealed a pre-existing partial tear that had progressed silently over time. The upright rows had been weakening the tendon systematically. When the tendon was finally asked to do something entirely routine, it failed. The safe alternative is a lateral raise performed with a light weight, no more than 2 to 3 kilograms, stopping at shoulder height with the thumb pointing upward rather than downward. This maintains shoulder strength and mobility without placing the supraspinatus in its impingement position. Exercise number 2. Running is the exercise most associated with cardiovascular health in the public imagination. It is what fitness looks like. And for adults over 65, running on hard surfaces, pavement, treadmills, concrete, combines 3 distinct injury mechanisms that together create a risk profile that most seniors are never told about. 3 distinct mechanisms combine. First, impact loading. Each footfall generates 2 to 3 times body weight in compressive force through already thin joint cartilage. Second, cardiovascular overexertion. Running typically places seniors at 75 to 85% of maximum heart rate, exceeding safe limits for a significant proportion of adults over 65 with subclinical cardiac disease. Third, fall risk. Treadmill running and outdoor running on uneven terrain carry substantially higher fall probability than walking, with greater forward momentum producing higher impact injuries. A 2023 study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine followed 4,200 adults aged 65 and above over 3 years and compared running versus brisk walking for cardiovascular benefit and injury rate. The cardiovascular benefit was statistically equivalent. The injury and hospitalization rate in the running group was 28% higher. Same heart health outcome, dramatically different injury profile. I remember Sandra, a 71-year-old retired school principal from Indianapolis. She had been a recreational runner since her 40s and had no intention of stopping. She came to me after her second stress fracture, this one in her left metatarsal, in 18 months. Her bone density imaging revealed osteopenia that had been developing undetected. The impact loading of running was fracturing bones that were no longer dense enough to absorb it. We transitioned her to brisk walking at the same weekly duration and intensity. Her cardiovascular markers were identical 6 months later. Her bone stress resolved. The safe alternative is brisk walking, a pace at which conversation is possible but slightly effortful. The research is unambiguous. Brisk walking produces equivalent cardiovascular benefit to jogging for adults over 65, with a fraction of the joint and fall risk. Cycling and swimming are equally effective alternatives for those who prefer variety. Before we get to the number 1 exercise, the one linked to a 67% higher hospitalization rate in seniors who perform it without proper screening, I want to hear from you. Which of these 4 exercises do you recognize from your own routine? Type a number in the comments. I read every single one. Now let us continue. Exercise number 1. This is the one that will surprise most people who are paying attention to fitness research, because everything you may have read about high-intensity interval training, HIIT, in the past 5 years has been positive. Mitochondrial biogenesis, improved insulin sensitivity, cardiovascular efficiency gains, longevity markers. All of it is real. All of it is documented. And none of it changes what HIIT does to an unscreened senior cardiovascular system. The research demonstrating HIIT's benefits in older adults is conducted in supervised clinical settings with participants who have undergone prior cardiac screening and individually calibrated intensity targets. The HIIT in commercial group fitness classes bears almost no resemblance to these protocols. In an unscreened senior population, HIIT creates three simultaneous risks. First, it pushes the cardiovascular system to 85 to 95% of maximum heart rate, a range at which subclinical arrhythmias can become acutely dangerous. Second, explosive movement patterns place extreme acute loads on joints, with the cumulative vulnerabilities described throughout this video. Third, the group dynamic encourages participants to match others' pace rather than their own physiology, precisely the dynamic that converts a manageable workout into a medical event. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Orthopedic Research followed 8,400 adults aged 65 and above who participated in high-intensity group exercise programs without prior cardiac or musculoskeletal screening. Those participants had a 67% higher rate of hospitalization, combining cardiac events and musculoskeletal injuries, compared to age-matched adults who engaged in moderate-intensity continuous exercise at the same weekly frequency. I remember Frank, a 71-year-old retired real estate agent from Raleigh. Fit, motivated, he had joined a senior HIIT class after reading about its longevity benefits. He came to me after collapsing during a session, a cardiac event requiring emergency intervention. His workup revealed a previously undetected arrhythmia triggered by the exercise intensity. He had not been screened. Nobody had asked. Frank recovered. Not everyone does. The fix is not to avoid all vigorous exercise. It is to earn the right to high intensity through proper screening first. Before any senior engages in HIIT or any high-intensity exercise program, they should complete a resting ECG, a discussion of cardiac risk factors with their physician, and ideally a supervised exercise stress test. With clearance, moderate to vigorous intensity exercise, including interval training at appropriate intensity, is both safe and beneficial. Without clearance, the risk is not theoretical, it is documented. The safe exercise framework for adults over 65 is not a lesser version of fitness. It is a more intelligent one. For core strength, replace crunches with dead bugs or bird dogs. Lie on your back, extend one arm and the opposite leg simultaneously, while keeping your lower back pressed to the floor. 10 repetitions per side. Superior core stabilization, 0 spinal flexion. For leg strength, replace the leg press with wall sits at 60-degree knee angle, not 90. Hold 30 to 45 seconds, 3 rounds. Add low step-ups for single leg functional strength. For shoulder strength, replace upright rows with lateral raises at 2 kilograms maximum, thumbs pointing upward, arms to shoulder height only. This maintains shoulder strength without impingement. For cardiovascular health, replace jogging with brisk walking at a pace where conversation requires mild effort. 30 minutes, 5 days per week. Equivalent cardiac benefit, fraction of the joint, and fall risk. For intensity training, before any high-intensity program, request an ECG and a physician clearance conversation. With clearance, moderate intervals, 2 minutes of brisk effort alternating with 2 minutes of recovery, provide the metabolic benefits without the cardiovascular risk of unsupervised maximum intensity. Within 2 to 4 weeks of replacing the exercises in this video with their safer alternatives, most seniors report reduced joint discomfort during and after exercise, improved post-workout recovery, and equal or greater functional strength in daily activities. For 30 days, remove the 5 exercises from this video from your routine and replace each with its safer alternative. At the end of 30 days, share in the comments what changed in your joint comfort, your recovery time, your energy. Your experience is the evidence that the next person needs. So let us bring this together. We have gone through 5 exercises most seniors have been told are healthy and that carry specific preventable risks after 65. Crunches, compressing dehydrated lumbar discs. The leg press, generating extreme patellofemoral forces behind a facade of safety. Upright rows, placing the rotator cuff in its maximally impinged position with every repetition. Jogging, combining joint impact, cardiac overexertion risk, and elevated fall probability. And above all, high-intensity interval training without prior cardiac screening, linked to a 67% higher hospitalization rate when performed without the screening that the supporting research actually requires. My main message is not to stop exercising. Exercise remains one of the most powerful protective interventions available to adults over 65. My message is empowerment. You now know the difference between effort and damage. You know that the exercise that feels hardest is not necessarily the one doing the most good. And you know that 5 specific changes, 5 safer alternatives, can preserve the benefit of exercise while protecting the body that exercise is supposed to serve. If this video helped you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for clear, honest health information designed specifically for adults over 60. And share this video with anyone who has been told that pushing harder is always better. With anyone recovering from an exercise injury they still cannot explain. With anyone over 65 who deserves to know that smart is stronger than hard. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 exercises surprised you most? Share your answer in the comments. I read every single one. Remember, aging does not take away your body's ability to recover and adapt. It simply reminds you to care for it the right way. Take care of yourself.